Hi,
Hi,
hello everyone. My name is Chang, and we're here with
Keelin.
Keelin. Yeah. And we're at Hoi An, the center, the heart of Hoi An, at this lovely coffee.
It is a little bit chaotic. We did not rent out this place. We've got people moving back and forth. So if there's background noise,
Yeah,
there's
bear with
background
me.
noise.
I'll try my editing, but
Deeply authentic.
deeply authentic. Okay, we're at the center of Hoi An. This is lovely cafe spot. It's called Hoi An Coffee Hub. If you want to check that out. And so, welcome.
Thank you.
Where do you live now,
Well,
Keelan, and where are you from?
I grew up in the U.S. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, I left for the first time with the plan of going to Thailand. Um, and so I've lived a couple places over the last couple of years, but I'm in the process right now of trying to immigrate to Thailand more permanently.
Wow, Thailand. Why Thailand?
Well, I was a boxer, uh, a long time ago. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so cool.
Uh, so I don't know if I've got the ear and everything. Like,
No, cannot tell at all, girl. Like were a boxer.
I was
Okay,
I was a boxer. Yeah, so I
that's
was.
amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like another lifetime, but way back when. So I went to Thailand originally because I wanted to fight, and I spent about a year and a half there. And during that period, I don't fight anymore. I haven't boxed for years, but I fell completely in love with the culture, the people. I learned Thai. I had a chance to live in a really unique situation and really kind of assimilate into a community. And I can't imagine leaving permanently. I can't imagine leaving permanently, and I can't really imagine living permanently anywhere else.
So you just decided, okay, this is where I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
How long has that been since then? You.
Well, I was there. I was boxing for about a year and a half, 7 8 years ago, and I left right before COVID, and so then I
Mhm.
was gone for a couple of years during COVID. Thailand actually closed its borders.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Everywhere did.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
everywhere did.
then kind of right after borders reopened, I had gone back planning just for a couple month visit. It was the first time I'd been there in years, and I landed, and within 30 days, I remember having I'm watching the rain pour down, right? This like tropical rainstorm. It's the middle of August. When I had this moment of like, I can't leave. It's like I can't leave. I left once, I can't leave again.
Thailand trapped Kaylin successfully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember this moment of like, I want to, I want to stay. And so it's taken me years. I mean, this was like 2 3 years ago now. And at the time, I owned a company, or I co-owned a company and was co-managing a company based in the West, and had a team. I had responsibilities, and so it took me a couple of years to start putting the pieces in place. I'm still in that process. Like I'm still in the process of trying to get all of the ducks in a row and to really go through the immigration process correctly. But I've been putting the pieces in place for years because yeah, I remember within less than a month after I got back, it was just like I never want to leave again.
Wow. And what is the hardest part for you, like integrating into Thai culture?
Well, I think coming from a hyper individualistic culture like the US, it's really learning how to be, or, it really was learning how to be part of a collective and part of a community. It just was such an alien experience to have people who felt responsible for me and people that I was responsible to in some way.
Mm.
And, like I remember this moment really early when I was there, right, where I was living at this boxing camp, and everyone after training would go shower and then they would go to the kitchen and cook. And we did not speak a word of the same language. There was not a word of shared language, but someone would still come get me. If I showered and went upstairs, someone would come and get me, and kind of just like wave me down to go eat. And so I had someone come and get me for the first couple of days, and then someone stopped coming to get me, and I just assumed that I like wasn't welcome. And then it was like I found out that it was like that afternoon, the manager who did speak English stopped by and was like, "Why didn't you go eat this morning? They were expecting you to be there." It was like someone came to tell me that I had been expected. And I had my kind of first experience of like, oh, like it's just assumed that I'm going to participate,
Oh God. I presume this is like the biggest culture shock for, I mean, I heard this from a lot of like Westerner coming over to Asia, and this very subtle culture practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and also that I then got into trouble because it was like it wasn't just that I was expected to be there. So I started, I was like, oh well, I guess I'm supposed to be here, and I started showing up, but then I didn't know how to help. Like I would try to ask if I could help. We had huge language barriers, and I would, kind of try to ask with my limited language or with gestures or facial expressions, if I could help, and people just kept waving me off because like nobody trusted that I could cook, and so I didn't help. And after a couple days, again, the manager comes to me and is like, I don't remember how she phrased it, but kind of was like, you got to do something, and so it's like I learned over time that it was like, oh, I remember this moment of realizing the point isn't to get things done in the most efficient way possible. The point is that everybody participates and everybody's present, and so it was like, and it changed everything for me because then, it was like I just learned to find the ways that I could contribute and then just contribute. It was like I didn't know how to make the food, but I could bring the water, I could bring the plates, and it was noticed and it was appreciated, and it was like it created a place for me in the community. It was like, oh, now I'm the person that brings the water, I'm the person that brings the plate, I'm the person that sweeps the ring before training in the afternoon, and it like kind of carved out a place for me in that community.
Yeah, and I think you brought a great point on comparing how is it like being in the US was like getting things done, right? Optimizing process. Whereas in here we value the harmony, it doesn't matter like where you're from, like how do you work, like, where do you live. It's just everyone participating in something and we care about each other.
Yeah, it's like making sure that everyone has a place and
Mm.
everyone is contributing in some way and everyone is present, and it definitely, like, that was coming from the culture that I came from, where it's like where that culture is so heavily focused on, like you said, on optimization, on doing things the most efficient way possible, almost ruthlessly so.
Yeah, it's not. There's the pros and cons about that, but I guess that's the one of the difference that many like, people can recognize.
Yeah, it was a culture shock for sure.
And how did you overcome these culture shocks? And is there any moment that you feel like you're at home, like in Thailand?
I mean, I think I remember I had somebody tell me once that I must have been Thai in a past life, and they were.
That's the biggest compliment you
It
can
was
get.
no, yes, you understand. Yes, it was. But it's like I laughed, but it felt, it was like, okay, well, that would explain a lot, because I from the moment I arrived, I think part of me has always felt like that was home, because for the part of my brain that speaks Thai, that part of my brain feels like it was born there because it was, it's like I didn't speak Thai before I got to Thailand. I didn't know anything about Thai culture. I didn't know anything about like Southeast Asian culture in general, about kind of these ways that, or collective, like living in a collective, living in a community. Like I just hadn't had those experiences, and so everything about that is kind of coded to the part of my brain that,
Wow.
right, that learned to speak Thai in Thailand, that kind of grew, I grew up in Thailand in a way. So I always feel a little bit like I'm split. That part of my brain has always felt at home there because it didn't exist before I arrived. And then the
Wow.
other part of my brain.
You're definitely like past life, like Thai people in the
ขอบคุณ
past
นะค
life.
ะ
Killing can speak Thai, everyone. Fluently. Amazing.
Thanks.
Uh,
Yeah, it's always a mix. I think, for me, it wasn't having a moment where it was like, oh, I feel at home now where I didn't before. It's always been more a process of integrating the two halves, where the Thai part of my brain has always felt at home there, and the Western part of my brain has always felt alien and confused. And so it's like I'm always trying to figure out how to integrate these and reconcile these things that are opposites rather than change one or the other.
oh,
And it's still a process, it's like
okay.
it's still a process, but every every year, every, kind of the more experience that I have, every new experience I have in either culture, just kind of helps me integrate those a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, so what you're saying, you have two parts of your brains that basically one is Thai and one is US,
Yeah,
like
it's like double
American.
personalities. Yeah.
And do you experience like reverse culture shocks? because you're back and forth between Thailand and the US, right?
100%. Yeah, 100% for a long time because I still had I was still co-managing a company. I still co-owned a company. I had responsibilities in the US. I was going
Okay.
back and forth every couple months. And I found that I would get in trouble either way. Like if I went to the US and I was still kind of in my Thai brain and Thai mindset, I would run into trouble because it's like not appropriate for that environment, you know? And so I would expect other people to behave in these kind of collective ways, right? Like I would expect people to pick up on these signals. I would expect people to like behave in these kind of reciprocal ways that Westerners and especially Americans just generally don't do. And so it would like cause problems, you know? But if I would have the opposite as well. Like if I came back to Thailand and I had spent too long in the US and I was kind of in a Western mindset, when I went into my communities and my friends, it's like sometimes would cause friction because it's just not, it's like a lot of those behaviors are rude or I like would miss social cues or so for sure every time I go back and forth, there has to be kind of this process for me of like remembering which environment I'm in and calibrating to the environment because the more time that I've spent in Thailand and especially the more integrated I've been, the harder it is to spend time in Western cultures without really having like a transition period or going through a process of culture shock. Yeah, I even wrote a series like the first time I ever went back to the US from Thailand, I wrote a series of like blog posts about it and like specific examples.
Oh my god, I need that link. Send me the blog, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people like who traveling abroad like for a long time living there and come back. I did myself too. I've been struggling a bit to navigate, the habits bringing from each culture. And so for the last 7 years, you've been traveling, like even outside Thailand, several country, right? But you decide to stay in Thailand, and then COVID hit. You came back to the US, and then you decide that's not it. I love Thailand. You came back, and you overcame these culture subtle practices and customs, and yeah, you learn Thai, which is amazing. So, is there any like words that you would choose to describe your whole journey? No, okay, not necessarily have to be in Thai, but you know,
uh Dayin or
okay,
Dayin,
okay,
which so Dai is the Thai word for heart, and Yin is like cool or cold, kind of with the idea of something refreshing. And put together, it means calm down, or it means to be calm, like to be a cool-hearted, a cool-headed type of person. Uh, which I think was the single most important trait or skill for me to learn to like adapt and survive in Thai culture. Because I had somebody tell me once early when I was there, that Thai culture is like having everybody stand in a circle and hold hands, and nobody's going to pull too hard, because if you
I love that.
if you pull too hard, you all fall down. And so I think there's this understanding of being deeply interconnected and deeply intertwined. And anything that I do, or that anyone in the community does, has all these ripple effects through the entire group and sometimes even beyond into other groups and other communities. And so people are deeply, deeply aware of this. And it took a long time for me to learn and like learn to appreciate coming from a culture that's not afraid of confrontation, like not afraid of being direct. It took a really long time for me to learn, but I've really learned to love the way that it's like the group comes first, and this awareness comes first of like, sometimes now isn't the time, or sometimes the well-being of the group actually matters more than my personal story. And sometimes that hurts in the moment, or it can mean that like things are difficult in the moment, but because I'm part of this larger community that has taken care of me in all these different ways, it's like it always comes back, you know? And so learning how to like see things on a longer timeline, learning how to have this patience that comes from like, okay, on a long enough timeline, things will balance out, And I think it all contributes to this idea of like staying really centered, being someone calm, being someone centered, being someone cool hearted. Um, yeah.
Wow, I think that's a lovely words. Okay, say it again. Diane or
Dai yin yin.
Diane Yin.
Dai yin yin.
Oh my god, Diane Yin.
Mhm.
Okay. And to wrap this up, is there any lesson or key takeaway that you would like to pass on, to someone who's probably choosing your similar, like a similar path to yours, or
I actually learned this outside of Thailand, but I've found I found that it's incredibly true for me, and it just keeps getting more true the more I integrate and the more that I assimilate. It's this idea of invest in other people. And it's gone both ways for me. You know, it's like I've had people invest in me in incredible ways, just give me incredible opportunities, give me opportunities to prove myself. Um, you know, give me access to their time and to their spaces, to the language, to the culture. You know, in ways that I just will never be able to repay. um, but I can try to pay it forward by investing in other people now that I'm in a place where I'm able to do that. You know, and so I guess what I'm saying is all of the best things in my life have come from my relationships with other people and like the opportunities that they've brought me, the connections that it's brought me, the places it's brought me to, you know? And so learning how to appreciate the people that have invested in me and like really pay that forward and invest in other people in the ways that I can has changed my life over and over and over again.
Wow. Yes. I also believe, just being grateful, and I also have the chance to meet a lot of people like you. You give me, a lot of advice already, and be on this
Sorry about that.
small podcast. Why am I really sorry about this? This is amazing already, and yeah, I think investing in people and also believing people is one of the probably most important part for me, a lesson for me when I travel, also when I live in another culture. Yeah, so thank you for be with me today on the
Thanks.
screen.
Thanks for having me. No, it's been my pleasure. You've been an absolutely incredible host
Thank
in
you. You never know what could happen, right? When you're traveling, you open your heart, uh, being curious. Because I was curious about Keelin, and then this just brought me, a new connections or a new relationship. It's really nice to know you. Yeah, thank you for being my podcast and coming to Vietnam.
absolutely no, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.